we're really fast. We are really fast because we're breaking news every day and bringing it to you speedy, quick. And so, it's almost 2 o'clock in the morning. But this is June 17th, 2026. Let's see if I can get through this at 2 o'clock in the morning. I think I can. It's been one of those days again. Um, where just jaw dropping news. We are at 2,145 days since Richard was forcibly removed from the barracks room. That's our son. Okay. I had someone say, "Oh, that's your son." Yes, that's my son. Richard Halliday's my son. He was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss because he was a whistleblower, because he was a distinguished honor graduate he wasn't a psychopath, okay? He had morals. He had, uh, he had a foundation, and he was a distinguished honor graduate for his cycle and basic training, the guidon bearer, fastest runner in his unit, black belt. He clipped out of 6 hours of college math and 6 hours of college German when he was 15 and one afternoon. Um, he I miss him. Can't believe what they did to him. They forcibly removed him from his barracks room because he was a whistleblower, because he didn't like the organ harvesting, the baby harvesting, the fuel smuggling and siphoning and the theft and um, the embezzlement and the weapons trafficking and the 500,000 children that he saw coming, that they would be trafficked, and that when they were rescued, only 146,000 have been rescued, 500,000. Only 46,000 have been rescued. Can you believe it? It's a huge number. It's a huge number. And only because 500,000, just about 500,000 were trafficked. And, of those that were rescued, they're saying that they were sexually assaulted over 600, 700 times each. Um, these are really, I want to say unforgivable crimes, unforgivable crimes, because I think they're just a direct assault to God. And when these same people, with their flesh peddling, um, their funeral fraud, flesh peddling, transnational, um, who could do funeral fraud? I mean, you have to be just so evil, right? To give grieving families urns full of pulverized construction material, right? While you're doing whatever to their families' bodies, is it organ harvesting? Is it selling to, um, Ukraine was reporting that, one of the ministers in Zelensky's cabinet was let go or arrested or whatever because he was draining fluid from dead bodies to make some kind of dolls, some kind of we for his chest of death or whatever. I mean, this is just it is so demonic. The whole thing is so demonic, and so Richard didn't want to put up with any of that. He said he'd rather burn his money than spend it on whores and blow. What did he mean by that? Well, they were bringing in these young girls and illicit substances to compromise the soldiers on base. See, they had infiltrated Fort Bliss. The cartel infiltrated Fort Bliss. The globalists infiltrated Fort Bliss. You understand that the cartel could not infiltrate Fort Bliss without the globalists paving the way. Okay, so today, and so Richard was forcibly removed, taken down to the barracks room. Taken down to the arms room, which is in the basement, and his life was taken from him there. And then they stole his body off of Fort Bliss and trafficked it to Juárez, Mexico. And our evidence indicates that they even harvested his organs. Um, we have the in the line of duty designation without his body, okay, because the evidence is so compelling of what they did. And our evidence, I'm going to tell you right now, it's an epic, epic case because our evidence is so thick, so high, so robust. My friend said robust. Yes, so robust. Um, that we received without Richard's remains the in the line of duty death designation. Um, so now we're in the very vicious negotiations for the repatriation of our son's remains because we know that they have them. Because they weren't cremating, were they? They weren't cremating. And there's other things that have happened that confirm to us that they have his partial remains. So we want them. We want them, and that's why we're fighting so hard. And in our fight, because we were told years ago, we've been doing this for almost 6 years now, day in and day out. We were told that we would have to be, and we were told by the CID, we were told by Richard's chain of command, who are implicated in this. I want to say they're guilty. From my point of view, they are so guilty of what happened to Richard, which is such a level of crime that when all of this faces accountability, it is the death penalty level kind of crime. And it's late at night, so I hope I say that right. But this rises to the penalty of death. It's so bad. And the betrayal and the treason. And the treason is not only on El Paso side in Fort Bliss and with the cartel there, the El Paso cartel. The treason reaches over to Juárez, where his body was taken. And it reaches into the cover up there, the prosecutor's office there called the Fiscalia. And the Chihuahua, Mexico is the state. And the Fiscalia has, of course, the main prosecutor just resigned. And I hope it was because of all of our work that we've done. Because we've had to work both sides of the border, both governments, for the repatriation of our son and accountability. And we were there probably 3 dozen times in Juárez, and we were in the Fiscalia, and they tampered with our reports. They tampered with our paperwork, with our son's case, and our son's case is connected to the Walmart mass shooting case because that was orchestrated by the same people um, that are responsible for the cover-up murder and trafficking of our son. Um, they orchestrated it. It was bloody. They weaponized it against President Trump to tamper with the 2020 reelection against him. Okay, against him for Beto O'Rourke. Beto O'Rourke is a very big part of this. His connections are all over this. His fingerprints are all over this, so to speak. His his campaign fingerprints are all over this. All the people that were connected to him and everything. It's all over this. So he's very much part of this El Paso cartel, responsible for the cover-up murder and trafficking of our son. And what was happening in Juárez, in Ciudad Juárez, Chihuahua, Mexico, right over the border. It's when I say right over, I'm saying a stone throw. I'm saying that you could walk over there. I'm saying that if we wanted to walk to the Fiscalia, we could do it. The Fiscalia also has a prosecutor for the North Zone. Juárez is in the North Zone of Chihuahua, and his name is Carlos Manuel Salas. You can find him in El Paso because he has a house in El Paso. He has a car in El Paso. He has a bank accounts in El Paso. That's part of this treason, okay? Because as the prosecutor for the North Zone, he's not allowed to do that. But because of this takeover, because of this treason against the homeland, because of this occupation or this, it's like they want to treat El Paso, Chihuahua as one country, as a separate country. They're making their own rules and laws, and they are, matter of fact, they are assaulting the sovereignty of the United States and of Mexico. And who are the El Paso cartel? Well, the main operative in all of this is Alejandra de la Vega Foster. She is a double agent, simultaneously serving under Texas Governor Greg Abbott, even being his chair for the inaugurations, putting on his, I mean, that's how close that is. And also serving for the Chihuahua governor at the same time. Okay, that means swearing allegiance to the United States Constitution, to the Texas Constitution, and simultaneously swearing to the Mexican Constitution. And Chihuahuan, I don't know if they have a constitution, but swearing to that. And it doesn't really matter in her case because she doesn't care about that because she's breaching all of that. Um, and something so weird about her birth certificates. There's some explaining to do, with all of that. And she is the operative, the El Paso cartel operative and double agent that was working for the Chihuahuan governor. Absolutely building, I don't want to say developing and having built the Torre Centinela um, the whole grid of it that includes this tower for 200 million. But the grid itself is $1.27 billion for border infiltration. This is not border security. This is border infiltration for the El Paso cartel and its conglomerate. And I say that because they the way they have put this together in what we have discovered is they've applied business principles to um, their terroristic organization, um, organized cartel. Does that make sense? Because it is a terroristic organization, the El Paso cartel. It has not been designated that yet by President Trump. Um, but because it's a conglomerate, because it has the Sinaloa cartel in it, because it has the CJNG cartel in it, because it has Tren de Aragua in it, it also has those three are designated as transnational terroristic organizations. So, aiding and abetting these transnational terroristic organizations for sure. But because they are so aligned together, working together, I call the El Paso cartel a terroristic organization. And it does include the Juárez cartel and the La Linea. I don't know if La Linea has been designated as a terroristic organization. I probably read it, but I can't remember right now at 2 o'clock in the morning. Um, so this putting this together, this um, Torre Centinela grid, this AI operated tower, okay, um, it required a software, and they bought the software. Chihuahua bought the software. Now, this was all facilitated, coordinated by the El Paso cartel operative, Alejandra de la Vega Foster. Why do I say that? Because she's the double agent. She was the one that was sitting on the committees in Juarez with law enforcement, with intelligence community, with the border security. She's the one that has that responsibility, and also on the economic. She was um, the part of the administration. Well, she was the um, economic person. I know there's a title um, to the Chihuahuan governor's administration. So she's economic development. Um, that's that's how this thing got built. This thing got built by the facilitation and coordination of Alejandro de la Vega Foster, who then facilitated the meeting between Maru Campos, the governor of Chihuahua. I call her the El Chapo fentanyl governor of Chihuahua, Mexico, because she is aligned with the El Chapo Sinaloa cartel. Um, and here she is with even a history of embezzlement, of course, with Cesar Duarte, embezzlement, all kinds of crime with the secret payroll. And now with the recent ambush of the two CIA agents that were killed, along with her investigator from the Fiscalia. Uh, all kinds of information has come out from these rogue agents that were on her payroll that were given office space in the Fiscalia with Carlos Manuel Salas, and um, carrying M4, their M4 military grade rifles, fully automatic, which is so illegal, right? So all kinds of information has come out of that, and but this whole grid, surveillance grid, um, including drone surveillance, camera surveillance, um, and I'm talking about like 10,000 cameras. Um, yeah, that, and then with this tower that is AI powered, they wanted the AI there. Why? Because they purchased a software called Pegasus. It's an Israeli developed software. They've sold it to multiple countries, but Mexico, Chihuahua, Mexico was number one. Was number one. They've had it, and they've deployed it there in Chihuahua, Mexico. And what it does is it can break every one of your passwords, cut through it like butter, like a hot knife through butter. It can just cut through every one of your passwords on your phone and collect all of your data, your pictures, your emails, your text messages, um, all your apps and everything. It can collect all of that data, and it can even tap into your live phone calls. Okay. Um, so it is very, very military grade, a military grade harvesting spyware. So not only, and we know this from our investigation, not only were they harvesting organs, which they were, not only, and probably still are, harvesting babies, targeting pregnant mothers. This is why they needed the funeral fraud. They have a lot of medical health fraud as well. And with that, and their cartel, very violent, vile, vulgar crimes, they need to control the medical examiner's office. They need to control death certificates. They need to control the funeral process, the whole corpse process. So that they can control evidence that could be used against them. And of course, with this AI powered tower, they can deploy Pegasus in a very dangerous way, collecting data. You can collect a lot of data, but then you have to go through all the data. Well, with an AI powered system technology tower with intelligence, trained intelligence, even though they're traitors, right? They're traitors, they're rogue, they're on her payroll. Maru Campos can cut through any one of your passwords on your phone, collect all your data, and then run it through this AI powered tower with all kinds of intelligence agents that are up to no good, law enforcement agents that are up to no good, Texas Rangers, DPS, ATF, including those from Mexico. And we know from El Mencho there's a lot on the payroll, right? These secret payrolls. So this is not, just American, but a lot of American trained. And they seem to have, through our investigation, a common denominator of being part of a Mormon faction. Part of the Mormon faction that is connected to Chihuahua, to Colonial Juárez, Chihuahua, to Nove Casa Grandes, Chihuahua, to Colonial Dublin, and of course, uh, Colonial LeBaron, right? The LeBaron family. And there's more, right? There's more. But this is the uh, Mormon faction that came over to Chihuahua about 100 years ago. The most famous American, I think, from there are the Romney family. But Romneys have good friends like the Wettons. The Wettons are in the, of course, El Paso FBI office. And there's many more. And, common surnames are Black and Johnstons and Wettons and Hatch and um, uh, thinking of all the, of course, Labrons, and there's um, Scozen and several of these surnames um, that keep popping up, like the Taylors, um, and they seem to be assigned to us, right? They seem to be assigned to us. Uh, so the common denominator is a real thing, and is definitely part of this El Paso cartel. Okay, a big part of the El Paso cartel that reaches into Colorado, into other states, California, Colorado, Utah, um, New York, Washington, D.C., of course. So um, Pennsylvania. So it reaches into the United States. This El Paso cartel is like an octopus, right? It has long tentacles that reach into Chihuahua, Mexico, but also into the United States. And this surveillance grid, intelligence collecting grid, also um, uh, there's agreements between both sides, like the treasonous treaty with Governor Greg Abbott, that gives access to the federal intelligence databases, but also with agreements with the consulate office there in Juarez that have given visas out, like for Carlos Manuel Salas. So we know that he's a criminal. We know that he's up to no good. We know that he has a house in El Paso, has a car, has a bank account, has driver's license, um, and not just any car, Mercedes, Class 6, I believe. I think it is. I don't know. I have to check my notes. But so, we know that, of course, the owners to the crematorium live in El Paso. House, owned by Cano Still, and they're living in it. I mean, it's so criminal, everything that they have restaurants. They have Argo Gas, which connects to Alejandro de la Vega Foster's husband's business, which is oil refining and all kinds of stuff. Banking, right? West Star Bank, and with Woody Hunt, and up to no good all the time. No, up to no good. Got caught buying siphoned oil from Pemex, which is the public um, the public-owned fuel in Mexico. Um, so these two are so connected in so many ways, and of course, the big bomb right in the middle is Nadal Baim, the Palestinian arms dealer, who connects everything in this whole thing. Um, but I really want to talk about this grid and the Pegasus software, which gives them more access than just the visas, more access than just the federal databases to, tamper with federal cases like our son's case absolutely was tampered with. The CID case file totally tampered with and admitted that it was tampered with by CID Howell, right? That is documented. So, they absolutely have been tampering with files, tampering with death certificates, tampering with bodies, and that is all documented. That is all hard evidence. It's not something we made up. I wish it never happened. I wish it wasn't true, but it is true. And, and they absolutely are criminals that have access to our intelligence agencies and its data. And now with the Pegasus software, they have access to financial transactions, business transactions, commercial transactions, um, any kind of information that's out there, um, that can be collected in conversations, emails, text messages, apps, anything from your phone, right? It can collect that information, and then it can have it analyzed, well, memorized, because that's what AI does. It remembers it for you. So it memorizes all of that data, um, and it has a memory like you wouldn't believe, because water has memory. Okay, water has memory. And always remember that when they start talking about AI, because it requires a lot of water. Um, and So the AI will memorize that data, it will analyze that data, it will organize that data, and it will weaponize that data. Okay. So anything that it collects, that is very powerful and very, it's not as, they'll never be as God. Okay. They want to play God, but they will never be as God. And there's always something that goes wrong with their plans, with evil people's plans. Always. Um, they're always building something that they will eventually fall in head first, or whatever. They will fall in their own trap, in their own evil makings they will fall into. So I want to be really positive with this transparency, even though it sounds so scary. Because if you're living there in El Paso and in Chihuahua, Mexico, um, where they're deploying this Pegasus software to collect this data, to memorize this data, to organize it, and to weaponize it, it can be pretty scary. But this is something that you need to remember. They're not on the right side of the law. Mexico is still Mexico, and Chihuahua is still legally part of Mexico. So, what Maru Campos is doing breaking through everybody's uh, in her area, um, and El Paso, breaking through passwords, breaking through privacy, right? Breaking into phones, breaking every password, um, is a human rights violation, right? A human rights violation, and it also is an attack, an assault um, on Mexican sovereignty and its security. So, what Maru Campos has done is to create um, crime. She has become a criminal. That's what it is. And not just any criminal. Even though she thinks she can attack President Scheinbaum right now, which I don't think is too smart of her, her being um, e- exposed as the traitor that she is to uh, Mexico and treason against the homeland. Um, a power grabber, right? An illegal power grabber, uh, a very vile, vulgar, violent power grabber, because and a sociopath, right? Um, I really have, uh, you know, woke up this morning thinking, oh my gosh, these people are all sociopaths because they feel no like guilt for all of the lives hurt and lost, the damage that they've done through from just embezzlement to the funeral fraud to the downright murder of people. So, and all of this organ harvesting and the baby harvesting and the just all the trafficking, it's just they're very, it is just being all exposed. And what do they do? What's Maru Campos doing right now with Pegasus in her hand, the AI tower in her hand? She's um, attacking President Scheinbaum. So something is happening that she is making her um, not too smart, right? Not too smart. She's not thinking right. She's not thinking too smart. So that indicates that a lot is happening behind the scenes. And, but her, um, her allying, being an ally, letting herself be facilitated and coordinated by Alejandro de la Vega, going to Austin, Texas 3 times. Okay, this is huge. 3 times going there. Once to sign the treasonous treaty that gave access um, to the border. And, watching that video of this treasonous treaty being signed um, by Maru Campos and Governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, he's like, I've never seen anything so wonderful from any governor of Mexico. Oh, are you kidding me? I mean, the level of treason, the level uh, of um, of border security breach. Um, he's not looking too good, y'all. He's not looking good at all, and I think this is going to be a big problem. But we're talking about the U.S. sovereignty. You're talking about U.S. security. You're talking about our military bases. You're talking about access to federal cases that are being tampered with. You're talking about elections being tampered with. You're talking about people being killed. Um, And you're talking about sacrilege when it comes to this transnational funeral fraud with tampering with death certificates and autopsies and um, and the bodies themselves with the organ harvesting and all of that. So this has to be shared. This has to be demanded to be investigated. We've done most of the investigation for them, you know, what more do they want when you have the Pegasus spyware right there in Chihuahua in the hands of El Chapo, Fentanyl Governor Maru Campos? What more do you what kind of evidence do you need when you have Nadal Baim being the uh, totally family to the uh, individuals in the DA's office, and then G3 of the 32nd AdCom, and in the AUSA, the federal prosecutor's office, and also very attached to Alejandra de la Vega Foster's family. So this is, you know, the evidence is there, very, very clear. The evidence is there. And it is the highest kind of crime because it is such a threat to our national security and sovereignty, both in Mexico and the United States, and to the privacy, the human rights violations, what they're doing to each and every one of us that live there on the border area and have cases in the border area. Um, it is just really needs to be addressed. And I think that's why she's attacking the one person that can address this, and that is President Scheinbaum. Of course, President Trump on the American side aside, and he's been uh, very much active in the El Paso border region. Really, I think he is absolutely taking away all of their support one by one by one, and also um, taking the leadership away, the cartel leadership away. Uh, but I think Maru Campos is attacking President Scheinbaum because President Scheinbaum, she could absolutely, she's a one that really could um, move to investigate Maru Campos, and I think, and she is, they're investigating her for treason already. So, but there's more and more evidence coming out, and that needs to get to President Scheinbaum, especially with this Pegasus. And people are going to be shocked, or maybe not shocked, when they hear that it is an Israeli developed, Israeli owned software, spyware, harvesting spyware. Um, and the developer for the Torre Centinela is a Mexican Israeli. This is not shocking for us when we know that the Mormon faction have a pattern of deception and infiltration, and that they have a huge pattern of deception and infiltration in Israel. Okay. And so um, there is a lot going on that we can't be too hasty with pointing fingers because there's so much deception and infiltration, just like in our military, in our DA's office, in the AUSA prosecutor's office, the federal prosecutor's office, and then in the North Zone prosecutor's office, the Chihuahuan prosecutor's office. in the prison system there, and um, in the judge. Don't forget about the judge that was bribed to let Jose Luis Arellano Curan go, and then he ran over to El Paso. Um, y- so there is so much bad actors that have infiltrated into our systems. Um, so for him to be Israeli, um, uh, let's uh, let's do a little bit. We're of the people, for the people, by the people, and people can investigate. We're investigating, and right now we know that this developer um, and the CIA, the FBI, the Mossad, the Palestinian, Hezbollah, this is all involved in all of this. And I think that they want to divide us, but instead of dividing us, I am concentrating on the sovereignty of the countries, the laws of the countries, of course, our Constitution, the Mexican Constitution. That's where you find the most help. That's where you find the legal, um, the legal power in all of this, and they want to keep us away from that, right? So that's where we're focused, and we keep pounding and pounding and pounding because there's been so many even breaches in that. So, but keep establishing it again. They've for years they've been working behind the scenes against us, and so it's not going to be an easy fix. Um, we need to all work together for Mexican people, for Mexican sovereignty. I um, was given an article today that I'm going to read, and for the United States sovereignty, not for a political party, but for the sovereignty of the country. Because what's happening at the border was, a takeover of territory of both countries. That's what was happening. So let me read. I see I have even at almost 3 o'clock in the morning, I have a lot of comments. So thank you very much. Um, Debbie says, "Mucho love, Gold Star Mom. You're right. It does deserve the death penalty. It truly is a tragic story." Yes, and they want to have power to do it again. Okay, because don't forget about Glennon Oakley Jr. Okay, I don't forget about him. There's a lot of others. When I was in El Paso, I put out a live stream. I've been doing this for over 2,145 days, right? Um, and I put out a little, just a little, hey, if you want me to pray for someone that's missing, someone that is tragic in El Paso, let me know. Soldier. And within 15 minutes, I got 50 names. So, and I just, after I did my live stream, it's just, you're so emotional because you realize the level of harm that they're doing, you know, and and we're so immune. I mean, think about it: 500,000 children trafficked through Fort Bliss, through our military installation on our dime, and they were being sexually assaulted 600 to 700 times each. And I have more information about that emergency intake center that was built in March of 2021, right? March of 2021. That is so terrible. And just to think of Leilani Hart and her her confessions about her family and everything like that, and knowing that this family had heart childcare, and that was a part of this whole COVID, because the schools were closed and that, and with the emergency intake center, they didn't have enough daycare center workers, because the workers were going over to the intake center because the money was better there. And so they were just desperate for childcare. And then they open up heart childcare. It's just scary, as Richard said, very bad and scary. I don't understand. Governor Abbott works with Attorney General Ken Paxton, who is running to be our senator in the midterms in November, to protect our border and to stop the illegal immigration and human trafficking. So, what you appear to be saying is that Governor Greg Abbott is not really who he seems, and he has actually is doing the opposite. Help me understand better what you're saying about Governor Greg Abbott. He is a crocodile. He is a snake. Okay. Governor Greg Abbott live streamed signing a treasonous treaty with Maru Campos, praising her. And she is, well, number one, I can tell you personal experience that they have blocked and did everything they can to stop us from getting our son's remains back. Her mother was Coca Spears. I hope I'm saying that right. But the health oversight of this crematorium that had over 400 bodies piled up while giving the families fake ashes. Okay. And this was a place so filthy, rat infested. You can look it up. You don't have to believe me. Plenitude Crematorium. And no potable water, no air condition. Bodies piled everywhere. Not even piled. They were just like garbage. Okay. Just signs of torture in uniform. All kinds of bodies. Okay. The pictures will give you nightmares for years, for years. And this is where our evidence has led that our son's remains are there. And they have slow paced this whole identification of the remains. They've just blocked everything. They're just they're the cartel. The very people that are supposed to be investigating this Plenitude Crematorium that is connected to the transnational funeral home purchase, who is the very people taking the bodies out of there. The very people that tampered with death certificates, with autopsies, are the very people that are supposed to be identifying these bodies. So the infiltration has become so bad. It is the cartel themselves that are in the power to do the jobs, and so they double dip, right? They're on these secret payrolls for traffic, for cartel activity, but then they're in the agencies, the government agencies and positions, collecting taxpayer salaries. This is our problem. And Governor Abbott knows this. Governor Abbott knows because we have informed him over and over again about El Paso, about Ciudad Juarez and Chihuahua, about the illegal um, chief medical examiner who is illegal. Mario Raskin Ortiz is illegal, and he's the El Paso chief medical examiner. He's from Juarez. Um, they brought him over because they have to control the medical examiner's office. The DA's office there is as dirty cartel as you can get. The AUSA is dirty as you can get. Um, our military is infiltrated. The politicians, I mean, Veronica Escobar, really, I mean, she blocked our congressionals. The very person in her administration that we were writing to that blocked our congressionals for her was caught trying to get contraband into an ICE facility. Um, posing as a lawyer, being an imposter. Uh, you know, so this is what we're dealing with. And we succeeded in getting the designation of in the line of duty. Uh, Even with all of these obstacles, it's been of course 6 years of working very, very hard, but we have made huge progress, and now we're exposing this very El Paso cartel. Alejandra de la Vega, she owns sports. She owns a whole bunch of convenience stores, like 200 of them. Um, and she's on all these boards, these health boards. Her mother was part of Plan Big, I think, president of Planned Parenthood in El Paso. But they're all into, the Texas Tech Health Science Center, all of this medical. And then you have, um, evidence upon evidence upon evidence that I can tell you that implicate Greg Abbott. Greg Abbott, he knows. Alejandro de la Vega Foster was in his administration and chairing his inaugurations. Okay, look that up. Um, so he knows, and he likes those private plane trips on her jets. I mean, he is compromised. Okay, that's what I'm telling you, and I'm a Trump fan because it seems that President Trump is uh, probably the only one that has been fighting. Um, he's been fighting harder than we have, and we've been fighting very hard. So, and they've been attacking him just like they were attacking us, but they were attacking him. I mean, they were, it's just, you've seen it. So, but that does not mean that there are not rhinos. And in Texas, the biggest rhinos, you see them. Um, just like Cornyn, just like Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz had Judge Roger Rodriguez's whistleblower complaint that identified those that hurt Richard and tampered with our son's files on his desk. On his desk. So, and was confronted about having it on his desk. He's up to no good. And I don't care if he's a Republican or Democrat, he's up to no good. Veronica Escobar, she's Democrat, up to no good. It's not about parties. It's about this El Paso cartel. The El Paso cartel is beyond parties, okay? They play both parties. They play they play pan, they play Democrat, they play Republican, they play Morena. They play it, right? Um, they'll be whatever you want it to be. Because they have a globalist agenda. They are want to start with their territory, take over their territory from Mexico, from the United States, and go from there. And go from there. And this Pegasus in the palm of the hand of Maru Campos with the AI 20-story tower directly looking at Fort Bliss um, gives them power to do a lot of damage. I'm not saying to win, I'm saying to do a lot of damage. And we're exposing that. Israel has a lot of technical advances, but good advances can be used for evil. And we Richard and I and our family, we were there in Israel where we love Israel, but we know that Israel, like the United States, has infiltrators. And that Mossad is up to no good, just like the CIA is up to no good, just like Hezbollah is up to no good, just like MI6 is up to no good. So, um, we're not, we're just telling the truth. We're as best as we know it, okay? Because there's so much deception that you have to be really, really careful. Um, yeah. The use of Pegasus tells me these are deeply infiltrated operators by the US and more criminal organizations from around the globe. Absolutely. Because don't forget that Nadal Baim just recently tried to flee to Kuwait with $44,000 of stolen money. That's in the lawsuit, okay, because he's being sued. And he is a Palestinian arms dealer, but he's also the father of Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado of the G3, that's operations of 32nd AgCom, that's our son's command, um, in Fort Bliss, and also family with Molinado and also Engelbaum, which are the DA's office, the 34th Judicial District Attorney's office, and in the federal prosecutor's office. And he's the one that was caught on CCTV footage saying that our son's body is in Juárez, several different places. And, this is in October of 2020. Okay. And what does the CID tell us when we hand them um, the video, the CCTV video? What does the FBI say when we hand them the CCTV video along with the video of um, the testimony of the cashier that he told all this to, demanding that um, she take down Richard's flyers, that she keep this a secret. Um, they say, oh, he's just a nobody. He's just a nobody. They couldn't tell us who he is because he's just a nobody. But we found out who he was, and he is somebody really big. He's somebody really big. And his connections go all the way to the Strait of Hormuz, to Iran, to Qatar, right? Because don't forget that Richard first started reporting from Qatar, from the Strait of Hormuz, of his command and unit um, engaging in criminal activity there. So, yeah, it's they were using our military. They had infiltrated to use our military, to use American taxpayer money to transport traffic all the way to Iran. Truth here, that makes him a treasonous traitor. I believe you about the crematorium, but I'm not sure how Governor Greg Abbott is connected. And not only is Governor Greg Abbott connected to all of this, um, but also what's his Secretary of State? It'll come to me. It's just early in the morning. Nelson, Jane Nelson. She's absolutely covered for this fake DA, James Montoya, who is not installed properly, as that makes him a fake DA. He has totally voided his oath of office. And before him, the same thing, Bill Hicks and uh, Jay Nelson covered for both of them. And they absolutely violated the Texas Constitution. So, and we're blocking our son's case. Our son's case. Richard Halliday, the Fort Bliss whistleblower soldier, Richard Halliday. Okay. So, yeah. So Greg Abbott, sorry, he is so complicit in this, and so is Jay Nelson. And I'm sorry. And now, when you get to Ken Paxton, he's interesting because he has done things, but because of being, that is such a huge office too. The Texas prosecutor's office, the attorney general's office is so huge. It's only second to New York. So, um, he was being sued during all of this. So we have a little different take on him. Could he have done more? I don't know, because that office is so big and the pressure, and uh, he was being attacked left and right. Is he perfect? No, he's not perfect. But he was really being attacked, and right now I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, um, uh, because uh, Cornyn, we know Cornyn is up to no good. We know that. So, and Ken Paxton has done some things that have been very helpful. So, we'll see. We'll see. But I'm sorry, Governor Greg Abbott, he's totally compromised. And that doesn't give me any pleasure to say that. It's just heartbreaking. I think and I've said it on several live streams, the criminal complaint we wrote for Jay Nelson um, really was super emotional for us, because it's just so heartbreaking. The level, they're traitors. They're absolute traitors. And we're talking about the murder of our son, you know, a U.S. Army soldier, 21 years old. And they are absolutely psychopaths. They have no guilt. They have no, yeah, it's all personal gain for them. Texas Tech Health Science Center, what's going on there? Well, that's really controlled. Just look a little bit with Alejandro de la Vega Foster, Paul Foster, Woody Hunt, those, um, they're up to no good. They're up to no good, and that evidence is coming out, of course, um, connected with Nadal Baim, connected with um, all the fraud, all the fraud. So, yeah. SB1 visas, they use these universities to get visas, misuse them and everything. There's just a lot going on there. Hiring people that shouldn't be hired. It takes a brave mama bear like you to educate that Palestinian gun trader is who shot up Las Vegas too. They set that man up. That's clear that something else happened in Las Vegas. That's clear. I agree with you. John Kelly, retired Marine, is a traitor also. Yes. And he was brought in by Woody Hunt and Alejandro de la Vega Foster and her husband, Paul Foster, to work for Maru Campos as a security a border security advisor. Um, it was so he's such a traitor, getting these big fat contracts for these unaccompanied migrant minor migrant camps. Okay, because his company was, you know, getting contracts to furnish those camps. Yes. How can I support Trump with a clear conscience? Because right behind my back is just one of two letters and the designation of in the line of duty. That's another piece. And the um, designation of terroristic organizations for these cartels. That is very important to our son's case. The arrest of Martha Mendez Aguilar, La Diabla, that's very important. The taking out of El Mencho, the taking out of Maduro, the taking out of the gardener, taking out of, you know, over almost 100 um, cartel leadership has been extradited. Many have been killed. That is President Trump. Going to Iran, to the Strait of Hormuz, going to the start of all of this for Richard being it in Qatar or Qatar, whatever you want to say, tomato, tomato, Qatar, Qatar. Um, and addressing, because while he's there, he wasn't just addressing Iran because he really didn't want to bomb Iran. That's very, very clear. He waited and waited and waited, right? He uh, bombed very distinct places. He didn't destroy the country like Obama and Clinton and Bush, and they go in and they just do this carpet bombing, um, and infrastructure. That's not President Trump. He's addressing the economics of it, which means the trafficking. Okay. He's the oil, stopping the oil theft. So, yes, I can support President Trump with a very clear conscience. I'm in awe that he's taking down this old system that is, um, you know, um, a big part of the economy is the trafficking and the fraud and the trafficking. And he's putting in a new system, a legitimate system, of and getting better health, which is important to our family. So, and that is no easy thing with the pharmaceutical companies. So, yeah, um, he's absolutely helping in our son's case. We're really moving forward because of President Trump. And, I'm not total, we're not relying on him um, to help us. We're fighting like hell no matter what to get our son's remains and to get accountability because we don't want any other family to have to go through this, right? And if we look away, um, it will give a green light for this cartel to do this again. And but they know Richard's name, and Richard's name deserves respect, and they tried to smear it. Um, they did smear it, and yeah, they're these are very evil people and they need to be brought to justice. Absolutely. Because what they did to our son was an act of war. It was an act of war against the United States. Absolutely. Yeah. And it had everything to do with the attack on President Trump with the Walmart mass shooting. So they're very bound, and that's why we have, with a good conscience, we can support President Trump. Absolutely. Well, thank you. Military chose him. JFK Jr. probably had something to do with it. Ted Cruz, too? Yes, I know that he was way after the evil Chapo. So you're saying Ted Cruz is in on it. Absolutely. He's in on the cover up. We were in communication with him. He knows, and he knows Judge Roger Rodriguez's whistleblower report. He knows. And he knows what's going on. So these are very self-serving individuals, which, you can be self-serving, but not as a senator, not as a representative, not as an FBI agent, not as a CIA agent, not as a DPS Texas Ranger, not as an ATF agent, not as a DEA agent, not as a CBP agent, not as an El Paso police officer, not as an El Paso Independent School District police officer, not as a DA, not as a AUSA, not as, you can be self-serving, but then go have your own little business, not on the taxpayer dime when you swear an oath to serve and protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. And when you have power to push for war, for our soldiers to go to war, and when a soldier is a whistleblower and is murdered on base by his chain of command and covered up by a El Paso cartel system that has infiltrated agencies and traffic his body internationally over the border into a different country, and you don't want to help, you don't want to say anything, you can't even say Richard Halliday's name, yeah, go away, or you need to be held accountable. You need to be held accountable. And this includes generals, and yeah, these are traitors. And Governor Abbott is one, and Ted Cruz is another, and Cornyn is another, and Veronica Escobar is another, and William Timmons is another, and Lindsey Graham is another. And I can't even imagine what President Trump goes through, being surrounded by all these elected, traitors, right? They're absolute traitors. So, yeah. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you for your support. The main message for today is that Maru Campos has the Pegasus spyware in Chihuahua, and she has an AI tower to take that data, that spyware can just break through your passwords to harvest every bit of it. And with that data, she can put it through her AI to memorize it, organize it, analyze it, and weaponize it. And that makes her a dangerous person. Yeah, because she's an El Chapo fentanyl governor who has committed treason by signing a treasonous treaty with the Texas Governor Greg Abbott, facilitated by Alejandro de la Vega, and she was hosted by Jane Nelson. It's pretty sad. Thank you so much. God bless you.